Hello and welcome. Today we've got Lloyd Brunson, and today we are going to be discussing, the situation with Ron DeSantis. What do people really want? And also, I want to discuss Robert Kennedy and Trump and the Constitution. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at Nicholas.Veniamin, or you can follow all my daily news reels. Lloyd, thank you so much for joining me once again. It's an honor. How are you, and what have you been up to?
Great to be here, Nick, and congratulations on being with President Trump, meeting him, getting your picture taken with him. So I've been out speaking a little bit, and I've been with Juan 07, and we'll be talking again today. We're going to be launching something really soon. I think I might have mentioned it before, where it's not just a letter campaign. We're talking about everyone being able to sign their own individual petition for redress of grievances. First time ever, I think, that anyone has had an opportunity to do that and even know what it is. And so this is an actual petition, individual petition people can sign. It'll be sent to the government through the Supreme Court, asking the court to not just adjudicate the Brunson cases, but there's 6 other highly important cases presented by the states having to do with the 2020 election. And the Supreme Court can take those off the shelf and do the right thing to clean up this mess. So that opportunity is coming up.
So if we sign these petitions, they're successful, they're heard by, the courts, and they clean this up, you're saying that we could potentially have free, fair elections
Absolutely. Much more than free, fair elections. We're talking about if every single person that voted for Trump signed this petition for redress of grievances, asking the court and the government, demanding that they clean this mess up through their power, game over. It's like you have 100 million people saying, hey, the oath needs to be binding. Let's do something here. That is huge. Public opinion is so powerful. People don't realize it. The court, the Congress, they follow public opinion. So this is an extremely important and critical time, an incredible opportunity for America to come together individually as a group to support a petition for redress of grievances. And this is the first opportunity anyone's really had an opportunity to do that in this kind of a way in the history of this country.
For the sake of the video, would you mind telling us exactly where we can go to find the petition and sign it?
Right. Well, right now you can go to LloydBrunson.com, and those are letters that you can send to the Supreme Court, and that's still a foundation. That's still good. You can go to LloydBrunson.com and send that letter and get in the practice of it, so that when the petition is online, which should be within the next couple of weeks or so, then it'll be easier to do that. And there'll be instructions for people if they want to do a physical letter or physical petition as well. And then there's some people that have approached me that they want to fund certification of each letter, so it would be certified U.S. mail. And so we're talking to people about that. That was their idea, and they want to do that. And so they want to make that available for everyone that signs a petition at their cost. So it'll be a certified U.S. certified mail petition for redress of grievances. So we have even a better record of it.
Absolutely. Now, if we have fair and free elections, assuming that we do, I really think without a shadow of a doubt, Donald Trump will be winning by far, because we've already seen a president in action, as opposed to somebody else where, for an example, I'm not a fan of Vivek Ramaswamy. And I say this because I like what he says, but a lot of it is, everything he's repeating, everything that Donald Trump has says. What do you think about that? I don't think he's original.
Yeah, I think he's going to support Trump in the end, 100%. I think he's going to tell his followers and supporters to get behind Trump, and he's going to get behind Trump. I have a good feeling about him. I've talked to him a little bit, and I like what he says about the Constitution. So I think he, with the others, are going to come around and give Trump their full support.
I really hope that
in the past. That's what happened in the past. Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and all those, they supported Trump. So
I really hope that's the case. So yeah, we will have, hopefully we do have honest elections. I hope that, Donald Trump is very passionate about, running for the primaries. And I think that he's put in a lot of work into his message and into the rallies. And I hope that him and his team have put, precautions in place to prevent any election fraud further. How do you think they're measuring those?
Well, I don't know. I just hope so. I really do hope so. But he has a track record. There are no other candidates that have a track record. They can talk the talk, but he's walked the talk, hasn't he? He's really actually done things. And so Democrats, as you know, Democrats in large numbers are coming over to his camp. People are seeing the destruction that's happening from this incredibly inept and evil administration. And so they're seeing this wreckage and they want to correct it. And they know that Trump would have done it had he become president, which he should have been.
And if he was re-elected to his second term, and unfortunately there's still the election, and we've got to go through all of this now. Biden's here. People are waking up because Biden's ridiculous, which I think is good. People are waking up and they're seeing how the left are. But Donald Trump said the last 3 months of his last term that if he's re-elected, he will completely get rid of the payroll taxes. What are your thoughts on the payroll taxes?
Well, I actually have had a conversation with President Trump. You can go to YouTube and do a search for President Donald J. Trump and Lloyd Brunson. And I actually approached him a little bit in this question. It was on national news about Ron Paul. Ron Paul was going around saying, hey, 1.6 trillion of the debt is fictitious because it was created out of thin air. And then we see Tucker Carlson saying, hey, $1 trillion created out of thin air. Why are we being taxed at all for that? If the government can create money, it's really supposed to be profit for the Treasury, not tax debt for the government. So the Constitution is set up in such a way where we don't need to be taxed. If we had an honest government, they would be able to create out of thin air money, but control the power of it and the value of it with the Constitution to take care of all of our needs. And even Alan Greenspan said there's only one reason for tax, and that's to curb inflation. That's a bunch of hogwash. So we've been deceived, and people need to understand that we have an incredible constitution with an incredible system that could reduce and altogether eliminate all taxation right down to the local level. And I think Trump's on board with that from things that he said.
It's very interesting you say that. So you're saying that not only you, but even Donald Trump probably agrees, and also Ron DeSantis. We're going to speak about him in a minute. But yeah, and also Tucker Carlson. They're saying that this money is created by thin air. Okay, so that means
out of thin air. Yeah.
And are you suggesting that because it's been printed and created out of thin air, where people now have to pay back thin air with interest, thin air, this is all a big fraud, right? So if it's a big fraud,
it sounds really confusing. But if we just not throw the baby out with the bathwater, if we just take the system that we have, it's like I've had conversations with members of Congress about this. If we were to simply enforce the nonprofit status of the Federal Reserve, just start there and to see the rippling effect of what that would do, that would eliminate taxation. That right there, if you think about it, like Tucker Carlson said, $1 trillion out of thin air. Let's just say we're not going to attack thin air. We're not going to attack it because it's out of a thin air. Let's just say that's the system that's happening right now. And let's just say we take that and do what they're supposed to do. Then the Federal Reserve is nonprofit. They're not supposed to bill our Congress for that trillion. And they are. That's Congress's trillion. That's the Treasury's trillion. They're not supposed to bill the Treasury. So that not only eliminates interest, it eliminates the principal debt as well. I've had conversations with Stephen Moore, President Trump's former chief economics advisor, and he agrees with us. But it's a really tough pill for people to swallow, because then it creates questions. But it's really, if you just go simply, hey, the system that we have, enforce the nonprofit status, and what does that mean? That means instead of $1 trillion of tax debt, it means that's $1 trillion in profit for the Treasury. We start there, and then we can get into the nuances of what to do to perfect it.
A controversial question that I want to ask you, Lloyd, is because this is thin air debt, does that mean that if this is a fraud, then all of the loans that were given to citizens, and this is bank loans, mortgages, then shouldn't it be null and void if it's thin air, if it's fraud?
Well, it could probably not only be, it would probably result in tax refunds, elimination of tax, and then tax refunds to those who have paid into the system, because the Constitution is really a tax-free system. And so the out of thin air part is like, I'd like to eliminate the word out of thin air, because that is the one incredible power of government, that it's okay. They can create money out of thin air and back it with any amount of gold or silver that they want if they choose to. They could back each dollar with 1/trillionth of an ounce of gold. Just like money from stores, there was a Sears dollar, it would say redeemable for $1 at the store, but in cash, you only get 1/16th of a penny. Okay, so that would allow the trade, the bartering back and forth with the money to change in value, which it does, without affecting what the government would have to uh, 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 redeem it with, if that makes any sense. So we could have a stabilized currency. So the simplest way to explain it is if we simply took the Federal Reserve System and enforced their nonprofit status, the wealth that would come back retroactively, not just money, but we're talking about real global wealth that would come back into the pockets of the taxpayers of the United States would far exceed the federal debt. So we have been ripped off, we have been stolen from, we have been lied to, and we need to get on the track of a no tax system, which the Constitution is, and then we don't have to worry about the IRS or any taxation whatsoever, and then we can really feel comfortable about getting out of bed and going to work and keeping what we earn.
I want to have a little bit more transparency from you in respect to the contracts that the banks have issued under this organization that they're doing. Do you believe that the contracts will become null and void? Do you think they're just null and void because of fraud? I mean, that's what happened if you've got an insurance policy.
Well, that's a lot of the nuances, absolutely, because when you find out you've been defrauded, and global organizations have defrauded you, then they need to make restitution, right? They need to pay back what they've stolen. And so I get into that. This is the focus of this little book you can get at 7discoveries.com. And so it would have quite an amazing effect. See, people think that the money creation and banking is the same thing. No, the government needs to get out of the banking business. The Federal Reserve should not be, you can't be creating, the government should be creating the money, and the private individuals should be the banking part of it. So if you have money, and you have loans, you have money, you want to start a bank, you can start a bank. But the government should not be in the banking business. But the government, according to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, is supposed to be in the money creation business, okay, for a currency. So it sounds complicated. I'm going to publish more information about that and show charts and stuff so people can easily understand it. But if you just say, hey, $1 trillion out of thin air is supposed to be profit for the Treasury, and not attack the fact that it's out of thin air, because Congress has the power to coin money and determine its value, and that's out of thin air. And if they want to back it with a certain amount of gold or silver, the Congress has the power to do that.
Absolutely. Now, I want to speak about Ron DeSantis now. What's the situation with Ron DeSantis? Do you think the people want him, or do you think there are some people that want him? What's your take on Ron?
Well, can you imagine being Ron DeSantis, knowing that Trump is so way ahead of you and that Trump is going to be the nominee? He is going to support President Trump. He has in the past. It's going to be a love fest. Look at the fighting that happened with the election where Donald Trump won. All these people were name calling, each other. Ted Cruz was calling Trump names, and so was Marco Rubio, going back and forth. But in the end, they all supported Donald Trump, and that's the Republican Party. They have a contract. They have to support the nominee, and they will.
It doesn't really matter if it's Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, Robert Kennedy Jr., because we all support freedom and the Constitution. So if they put their egos to one side, and obviously we know the people want Trump, and we also seen an honest, ethical track record of Trump as president, then they will all step down and they will entrap the other side, the deep state, the liberals, and they will vote for Donald Trump. I think that's the most sensible and logical thing to do if you genuinely want freedom and to free humanity from enslavement. What are your views?
That's exactly what's going to happen. They're all going to step down and they're going to support Trump. I'm not sure about Robert Kennedy, but I think even he will step down and support President Trump. He's not running as a Republican, but the Republican candidates are required. They've signed on to supporting the nominee, and they will do that. So they're all going to step down and support President Trump.
I do like Robert Kennedy Jr. My only concern with Robert Kennedy is that he comes from a very liberal family, especially his wife, and they are pro-abortion. They support abortion.
Well, President Reagan was a Democrat, and so was President Trump. President Trump supported abortion, but they shifted. And look at Saul. Look at the Bible. Saul, can you imagine being a member of Christ Church, where it was really him directing the church, and he calls an apostle who had been killing your family members because they were Christians? I mean, that would be a tough pill to swallow. I would use that analogy with people when they were having problems with Trump's personal life. It's like, hey, you're a Christian, you believe in the Bible, you accept Paul as an apostle. He was killing Christians. He was doing a lot worse things than President Trump. So why can't you support President Trump? So
Absolutely. I hear that the viewers are very, they've been calling for you to make a Christmas music or something like that that you'd like to show to the viewers. Why don't you
Yes.
tell us?
Yeah. A few years ago, the Brunson brothers got together and did a Christmas album. And Jay Osmond is on there. He was a neighbor and a friend. And so he's playing the drums and singing, Little Drummer Boy. And then there are other Christmas songs on there. The guitar player helped put it together. The guitar player is Jamie Glazer. Was on the cover of Guitar Player magazine. Played with Chick Corea for quite a while, and Manhattan Transfer, a bunch of groups. And then we have this one also. It's an instrumental that my brother Gaynor wrote that he and I did together. And that has Carlos Santa's percussionist on it. It has Sting's drummer, Vinny Colaiuta, on it. Steve Lukather from Toto's playing on a cut. So we have a lot of really famous musicians on this. And that's available at sevendiscoveries.com for Christmas. And I think so there's an opportunity there if you want to get some music for the stockings and gifts. We have that available at sevendiscoveries.com.
Absolutely. Well, Lloyd Brunson, you're doing amazing work. I really appreciate you and your service to contributing to freeing humanity, not just in the United States, but even where I'm from in the UK and for the rest of the world. I do believe America first, because that's the source and the cause and the start and the beginning of all the problems. And that's where we need to start. If America falls, the whole world falls. So thank you so, so much. And if there's anything in any way that I can contribute to helping, I don't want anything in return. I just want to be at service to anyone that I can help. Please do let me know. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
No, just a reminder to go to lloydbrunson.com and see how that thing is, how the letter campaign works, and watch for the petition that's coming down the pike that's going to be there on sevendiscoveries.com to pick up some of these new books, the 2024 edition of the Constitution that has information about money and everything like that. And then have a Merry, Merry Christmas, everybody, and happy holiday season, and keep up the fight. We're on the winning side. We're on the winning team here, and we're going to prevail. The Lord's behind. The gospel of Jesus Christ is the gospel of freedom and liberty, and people that are involved in freedom and liberty are feeling the Spirit of Christ. It's the same Spirit. So let's just keep at it, keep the fight going.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you too, Lloyd, and to your family. And we'll speak very soon. You take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nick.